to all you rad people out there from whatever rad time you're watching in whatever rad place. That's right. It's me again, Ryan.
I'm David.
And we are R-A-D.
Rad. Yo,
And once
Ryan.
again, a
Yeah,
super rad edition. It's me, Ryan, and you, David. And nobody else, man. Just us.
somebody else. Yo, I've got some imaginary friends in the room. I hope that's okay with you. Um,
Always.
yeah, but I've enjoyed doing these top fives and top tens because I like, in many ways, I'm learning a little bit about you at the same time, Ryan. Yeah, when it's very revealing, nonetheless. So I do appreciate
Likewise. I think you can tell a lot about a person from,
music.
what they consume, right?
Yeah, exactly. We are what we can. Well, there's that old "we are what we eat." I don't know. I had a steak yesterday. I don't know. I hope that doesn't mean. But anyway, that's another topic. Yeah.
Don't tell
uh,
the vegans.
yeah. Don't, David. What? No. Okay. Ryan. One of the things I've done sometimes in the evenings during quarantine is I watch an old classic or I watch a movie. For me, I really enjoy a good movie. But above all, I enjoy a good script because I'm taking at the moment I'm taking this master class with Aaron Sorkin on script writing, and I'm
Cool.
loving it. I'm really loving it. I'm 7 classes away to finishing, but I write down notes and I'm kind of like learning about the process. In fact, this summer I'm planning on. Well, it sounds crazy, but I have this idea for a great educational as well TV script. So I think
Cool.
cool. Yeah.
I think it's interesting because, well, similar to what we were talking about when we were talking about music, you can very passively consume a movie, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to think about it or anything like that. But when you do, I think that having a deeper appreciation for something is just makes it that much more enjoyable. And I'll tell you, it's interesting that you mentioned that because when I was like 18, like right after I graduated from high school, is when I got a DVD player. And so the cool thing about having a DVD player was you could watch movies with commentary tracks. And
Ooh,
so
thought
for
about that.
many years of my life, I would often buy a movie, I would watch the movie, and then I would watch the movie again, but I would watch it with the director and the producer and sometimes the writer or the actors doing commentary. I don't know if these things really, it's funny, like it almost doesn't exist as much anymore just because the DVD has sort of, I don't know, at least in my life, the DVD has kind of
Yeah,
disappeared. And Netflix doesn't really allow you to do commentaries, I don't think, although it's something that they should definitely look into.
you're right
But
about the. Yeah.
yeah, I always enjoyed that, was listening to the stories that the people who made the movie had to tell about making the movie. And I'll be honest, when I was about 18, I really did think about like going to film school and even like becoming a movie maker just because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed movies so much and I enjoyed the art of movies. And so yeah, it's cool. I think it's really cool that you're thinking about writing a script. And um
I'm, I'm,
I'm
I'm,
also
gonna,
thinking,
I'm gonna pitch you the idea essentially, right?
okay.
Because one of the classes that I did, they said as a beginner, the best thing that you can do as a beginner is do something that you're familiar with. Now, I've done some short stories and I like short stories, but imagine a TV series that's educational in many ways and it's depicting many different short stories, right? So it's
Mhm.
like season one, it's like American literature, or maybe it's mixed up a little bit. But I would do like an episode that is the short story of Anton Chekhov's The Lady and the Dog, or a short episode on John Cheever's The Swimmer, or a short episode on Decor Baby by Hanif Kureshny. Like it would be really cool, and it's also simpler to do short stories as episodes than it is to
Sure.
make a movie out of it per se. Yeah.
Right.
So I
Right.
don't know. It's something I'm playing with, and I'm looking forward to finishing the class and giving it a shot. We'll see. We'll see.
Cool. Well, I'd like to read your script when it's
Oh
when it's
yeah,
ready.
no, definitely.
Awesome. Very cool. Awesome.
Hmm.
Well, we're gonna share today our top 5 picks for movies, right?
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I don't know. There was one that I had to include here because it was one that I've recently seen during the quarantine, and I think it was also one I put down because I think if you haven't seen it, I think you would absolutely love it. But without further ado, let us go through the top five.
Rad
At
show
least in our
top five.
opinion. Let us remind people, at least in our opinion.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, number five. As I said, I'm interested in the art of making movies, and so for my number five pick, I picked something that is not usually what I would consider high art, but it is a movie that's really important to me, and maybe even one of the movies that I kind of got started with in terms of, I don't know, being really interested in movies, and that movie is Billy Madison.
Mm.
Uh, I don't know, there's a small generation gap between the two of us. So I was about, I give myself about 12 or 13 years when Billy Madison came out. And it was, and this is an interesting fact because I've checked this with other people of my generation.
Hmm.
And it was a movie that for some reason we kind of all like memorized the entire movie. So like I could put the movie on right now and I could probably recite most of the lines from the movie
It's funny
because
that,
it was just that type of movie. I don't know. And it was also the type of movie that you just watch over and over again. I mean, especially when you're 12. I don't know.
I don't know, and it's a fantastic comedy. For myself, I didn't include any comedies on here because, and I hope not to insult you by this, but the problem with for me not to include comedies was a good joke, as the old phrase goes, a good joke is only told good once. So it was like, in many ways, I struggle watching comedies a second or third time because of that element, because I'm
Mm,
already prepared for the joke. You know,
right, right.
that's the only reason I didn't include any comedies on my list per se. But I have seen Billy Madison and I do love the movie. I will definitely
I
agree
mean,
there.
it's a classic, right?
It is classic. Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. I think
It's
that
interesting because I share some of your sentiment though, because over time I've found that my interest in comedy movies
mm,
has also kind of declined. Like it's just not really the genre that I go for most of the time.
no.
Um,
But
and
the other thing about comedies is that the best jokes are played in the trailer. Like, why are you going to ruin the film for me? Don't play the best jokes in the trailer. Leave it as it is. Let me find out. I don't
and then
know.
you're waiting the whole time. You're like,
Yeah, yeah. You're like, oh,
when is he gonna say it? Oh my god, when is he gonna say it?
is it going to happen? Yeah.
No, I know it's silly, but Billy Madison is it's one of those references. It's one of those things that I will never be able to wipe from my memory. It's in there, and it's part of who I am today. So if I ever decide to go back to school, um, you, everybody will know
You're going to be living vicariously through Billy Madison, if I will. Yeah,
why. Yeah. Well, I mean, you say that you didn't include any movies here, but judging by your number five pick, I wouldn't say that there's no comedy in this movie.
You're right there. It's not that there's no comedy, it's that comedy isn't the central theme in many ways, right? And
Yeah,
now Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, a movie by Guy Ritchie, I think mid 90s, maybe late 90s, I think it came out.
yeah,
But
sounds.
Guy Ritchie, in my opinion, I mean, he's all right. Put it this way: my top five, in many ways, is based around one, I want to know who the director is, and two, in many ways, it's also the script. Like one of the important things is intent and obstacle, right? In terms of a movie, there needs to be intent and there needs to be obstacles in a movie. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of why I went with I had to include a Guy Ritchie movie because Guy Ritchie, in terms of, I mean, this movie, if you want to know about English culture, I recommend this movie because you will learn what a geezer is, what the Northerners are like, and the Northerners, they'll speak a little bit like this, and you'll just understand English culture in many ways through this movie. There's the Scousers as well. The same goes for that other movie that he did, Snatch. But this one I put above Snatch because it is just an authentic British movie in many ways. It's just, it captures British culture so well, I think. And I think, yeah, I don't know, Guy Ritchie, I think he's just, in terms of developing movies, I'm a huge fan of him because, I mean, okay, not because he's married to Madonna, nothing about that, but just because he's a director who's very involved in the script, unlike many who are more involved in the visual elements of a movie.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm not going to give any spoilers, and it's very hard to even actually explain this movie just
Yeah.
from because there's lots of twists and turns and ducking and diving that you got to do. But Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, love it actually. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
some great characters.
Yeah.
Uh, some unforgettable moments.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but a good movie to have on DVD, because then you could put on the subtitles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Sure.
I got into Snatch first. I watched Snatch first. I did exactly what I explained earlier, which was I watched Snatch with the commentary. So I listened to Guy Ritchie talk about making the movie, and I think he talked about it with Jason Statham. And yeah, then I said, oh, I need to see his other movies. So I went into this one afterwards. But yeah, classic stuff.
Yeah.
Very important for cinematographic.
Yes, cinematography or cinematographic experience. Yeah, yeah. I guess
That
that's. I
word
don't.
even exist in English?
I
Cinematograph.
Yeah, because how would you use cinematography as a noun for an adjective? Vivid, visual. I don't know.
No, cinematic.
Oh,
Cinematic.
cinematic. Yeah, that's it. Cinematic. That would be it. That would be it. Oof, English teachers. Let's wipe that sweat off. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll show you my number 4. And now this one I recently watched for the first time, Midnight in Paris. I watched it with a friend during quarantine, and I gotta say, Ryan, I think it's a Woody Allen movie. You haven't seen this one, have you?
I actually have seen it. Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I
Yeah.
um I really enjoyed this one actually. I watched it for the first time about a month ago during quarantine. Oh my goodness, I'm speaking about quarantine as in months. Anyway, I watched it about a month ago in quarantine, and I mean, okay, I'm not a big Owen Wilson fan, but I really enjoyed the idea actually.
Yeah.
Just like representing the what is it, the Belle Epoque of Paris, when
Uh-huh.
of course, there's not many movies that represent the roaring 20s in such a flamboyant and lavish way. And that's what I
Right.
liked about this was like the 1920s is being represented in this like flamboyant and very like a lavish way of just like, I mean, you have characters like F. Scott Fitzgerald. I loved the Salvador Dali. I don't remember the actor, but he was just hilarious in that.
Right. Right.
T.S. Eliot appears, Josephine Baker, all these like, characters of the 1920s that represent in many ways the arts and literature of the 1920s that emerge in the movie.
Yeah.
And I like the juxtaposition between modernism and then it would jump into, 100 years in the past of the roaring
Right.
20. I don't know. I know there was a little bit of romance, and I'm not a big romance movie person, but I did definitely enjoy this movie because it has that special effect, if you will.
Right.
Mm.
Right. And it reminds me a little bit of another Woody Allen movie. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's called The Purple Rose of Cairo. In
I
that
haven't.
he
Mm,
does that sort of weird kind of like breaking of the fourth wall kind of,
the
and
fourth wall, yeah,
what
yeah,
you might call like a metafiction, right? And
yeah.
the Purple Rose of Cairo, I don't know, there's a movie called The Purple Rose of Cairo, which is funny because you're watching a movie called The Purple Rose of Cairo, and in that movie there's a movie called The Purple Rose of Cairo,
Mm.
and the guy ends up like going into the screen, and into the movie. And
Oh,
so
snap.
it's
And
similar to this.
he
I
has
don't.
a Woody Allen is one of these special characters in terms of movies, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, he's a New Yorker, but there's just something that he delivers. I like directors that deliver uniqueness. And I think that's, I mean, I base whether I'm going to go to the movies or not based off who is the director behind it, you know, because at the end
Hmm.
of the day, it's the director who's providing that visual element and what is it like? I don't know. There's some time, I know that's maybe biased of me, but like when I hear this director has made a film and it's now in the cinema, I'll go watch it. I don't care what it's about, like a
Yeah.
Wes Anderson, because I know that they're trying to show something through their lens, and I have always appreciated their lens. Like I
Right.
appreciate
Right.
the lens that it's being displayed in.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. No, I totally agree, and I'm sure we'll have more to say about that as we move down the list.
Yeah.
So you're outclassing me by a million right now, but so my fourth pick was another kind of sentimental pick, but I was born in 1984, and so one of the most important movies of 1984, really like all of the 80s, was Ghostbusters,
Dude, you're
right?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, this movie, we look at it now and it's sort of like funny and cheesy, but back in the day, like the special effects in Ghostbusters were amazing, right? Um, their fight with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is just the stuff that like
Yeah.
movies should be made of. All movies should have a giant marshmallow monster in them at
And
least.
dude, Bill Murray, don't get me wrong. I mean, one of my favorite human beings in this world. I just watched a
Yeah.
video of him having a Jimmy Kimmel session, and he's like, "Well, I've been spending most of my quarantine in the bathtub, and why you ask? Because nobody will disturb you in the bathroom." I'm
He
like,
is just a unique human being in
yeah,
his comedic sense. I also and then stuff started to pop off in my mind to talk about this movie. When I was looking for the image for the poster, I don't know if you notice it, but to me, there's a glaring omission in this poster. Do you happen to notice what it is?
um,
There's only three Ghostbusters, man.
oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I knew that there was three. I was looking down at the title and the credits, and I'm like, is there a name that shouldn't be there? No. All right. I was looking in the wrong area.
And this is something that I kind of wanted to bring up because Ghostbusters particularly has been a kind of an interesting case study in like I don't know what you would want to call it. Maybe social justice, maybe rights. But you'll notice first of all that the missing Ghostbuster is of course the black Ghostbuster, right? Um, which is unbelievable. And then if you see as time goes on, future iterations of the Ghostbusters. I don't know if you've followed the series. I have a little bit, but there was of course the cartoon of the Ghostbusters, which was
Mhm.
also a huge part of my childhood. Like I watched that all throughout my young childhood. But then when I got a little bit older, there was another Ghostbusters series, and I don't know if you got the chance to see that, but like it was
Cartoon?
like yeah, and it was like the politically correct Ghostbusters, and I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, this
Yeah.
is interesting, right? So there
Hmm.
was there was a guy in a wheelchair who was a Ghostbuster. There was a woman now, and it was really interesting to see like the evolution of the Ghostbusters in terms of the evolution of society, right? And this is 1980, and for some reason like the black guy is not on the poster, which is pretty glaring, but interesting to see how things have evolved.
Evolved.
Anyway, that's not really what I wanted to talk about Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is an awesome movie. It's super funny, and and yeah, again, like a huge part of my childhood. And I
Yeah.
think from now on, most of my picks are not nostalgic picks.
In many ways, it's funny that you bring up that part of there being a missing Ghostbuster, because Ghostbusters as well, they came out with a female version in Hollywood.
Yep. Uh huh.
And it's funny because so obviously when Hollywood had these I mean, the background of it essentially is when Hollywood had all of these sexual accusations, the Harvey Weinstein cases, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Um, Hollywood's response was to make movies with female characters as the center. That was their response
Right.
towards it, which is why, like, from 2015 to 2018, you see this huge emergence of movies with
Mhm.
female characters as the lead, actually.
Mhm.
Like, and I find that interesting, honestly, how, there's now a female version of Ghostbusters in many ways,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's rewriting history a little bit more in a little bit more realistic of a way, right? It's
In a
important.
PC world, yeah, yeah, in a PC world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I'm generally a fan of that. I think that that's great.
Oh, no, absolutely. Same, same. No, 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 fantastic.
Not to take away from the original Ghostbusters though,
That
because
is true. There, I mean, the classic is the classic, and it's a classic for a reason. Yeah, definitely. All right, let's take a look at the next one. I was curious about this one. Yeah.
okay. Well, I picked this one first of all for the moment that we're in. Secondly, because I think that there's a genre or like a subgenre of science fiction movies from the 1970s, specifically starring Charlton Heston, that are a little bit like underappreciated. I mean, I'm pretty sure that most people are familiar with Planet of the Apes. At least,
Hmm.
you know, at least people probably know the newer movies of Planet of the Apes. But if you haven't had the opportunity to see the old Planet of the Apes,
Oh,
you should.
that's
You
yeah.
should. At least the first two or three, but really they're all pretty good. Um, but also Omega Man is another Charlton Heston movie. It's a shame that Charlton Heston moved on to really just become a kind of a despicable figure, but but he made some really amazing movies in the 70s. Omega Man is if you've ever seen I Am Legend,
Ah.
Omega Man was the 1970s version of I Am Legend. It's actually
Uh,
based on the book. The book is called I Am Legend, if I'm not mistaken.
okay.
And they made a movie called Omega Man.
Omega. Okay. Huh.
It's really, really good. But the Charlton Heston movie that I want to talk about today is Soylent Green. Soylent Green is a dystopia. So we're living in some kind of a future society where things have kind of fallen apart. There are crises in Earth in terms of energy. So, for instance, one of my favorite scenes is where Charlton Heston is pedaling a bicycle inside the house to generate electricity for the light bulb that they have in the house. And I really love that scene, and I think it's super relevant. And I think that it has a lot of interesting iterations, including like one of my favorite episodes of Black Mirror. I don't know if you've watched the
Oh yeah.
series, but the second, I think it's the second episode, where there's a guy who rides a bike, and that's basically his job. He rides a
Oh
bicycle.
yes, yes. I know exactly the episode, and he gets points in order to. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think there's a kind of an interesting connection there between the body and between like um, economics, I think, which is interesting. But the most important part about Soylent Green is that in this future, with these energy problems, one of the things that has arisen is a food that's called Soylent Green, and it is basically the food that people eat, and it's marketed and everything as sort of a complete nutritious meal. It's a little bit like if you've read the the Lord of the Rings, and maybe
Yeah.
you remember Lembas. It's a little bit like Lembas. It's almost like this magical food stuff that can that's just good for everything, right? And so but I mean, besides that, it's also basically the only option that people have. If I remember correctly, and it's been many years since I've seen this movie, occasionally though they will have like other food, like they might have an apple, and it's like, whoa, we have an apple, like it's a special treat, right? But
Mm.
for the most part they eat Soylent Green. And well, if I was going to tell you anything more about the movie, really I would ruin the plot. And so I really encourage everybody to watch Soylent Green. I don't know how. I've been looking for it both in legal and not so. sources, and I have not yet found a good place to watch it. And I want my wife to watch it too, and I want it to have maybe Spanish subtitles, but unfortunately, it's not on
In terms
Netflix.
of finding it on the illegal front, don't worry. I got your back there, Ryan, all right?
Oh, thank
Uh,
I think it's a movie that, for this time that we're in, I think it's a movie that's worth watching, because I think that there's a lot of reflection, and there's a lot to think about in terms of, what do we do every day, and of course the fuel that makes that all happen, and where does that come from? And anyway, I would highly recommend.
No, fantastic. No, I'm very intrigued. If you're saying you're finding it as a reflective piece of what's going on now, I'd love to. I mean, I watched. I think when coronavirus started or the quarantine started, I watched Contagion. I was not a big fan. I was just like, oh, geez, no.
I have
No.
avoided any movie about plague and about viruses and stuff like that. No, I don't want.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
want
no,
to
I
watch
don't. I was like, you know what? This is killing my vibe right now. Like all this. Oh, geez, no. So, but if you're saying this one's a little bit different, then I'm very interested. Most certainly, most certainly. Um,
it has my stamp of approval.
I like that. I like that. It's got your Rotten Tomatoes approval. So, what I've got for my number three. Now, I don't remember who directed this one, but I absolutely love the storyline of this one. Now, what's interesting about Rain Man is a lot of it, because it came out in 1988 or 87, 88, 88. Either way, when it was being developed, it was also during one of the most impactful writers in Hollywood. They went on strike for a year and a half during the filming of this. So a lot of the script that was written was third party kind of observation, as in like they had some, for example, one person that was involved in the script was someone who was a Princeton University's football player who had a brother who was autistic. And he was very highly involved, even though he was still a university student, but all the script writers had, been on strike. He was very involved in the writing of this. And also Dustin Hoffman, I think his acting performance in this is one of the best that you can ever watch, without a doubt, in my opinion. Like there is nobody, there's two movies, in my opinion, with just outstanding, amazing acting in terms of a disability. Dustin Hoffman plays an autistic brother who doesn't know that Tom Cruise, not a big fan of Tom Cruise, is his like real brother. And this movie really captivates me just because of the relationship of two brothers and the role that Dustin Hoffman plays, that amazing, amazing acting performance of his. I mean, it won him an Oscar for one, but I think it's also in terms of best Oscars for the best actor. I think if there was a one for like the previous 75 years of Oscars, dude, I would give it to Dustin Hoffman, honestly, because his role in that movie was outstanding. Yeah. The other one that I wanted to mention, Al Pacino, Scent of a Woman, when he plays a blind guy, dude, like incredible.
I've not seen that movie.
It's part of that like 80s genre prep school. I have someone who's influencing me. It's kind of in that Dead Poet Society alongside Good Will Hunting kind of genre. But
Okay.
Rain Man. I'm veering off topic as always, but Rain Man is like absolutely. If you have a brother or a sister, I think you can find a connection with this movie, no doubt. No doubt.
I definitely agree there. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right.
So, you know what cracked me up about this right here, Ryan, was as I was looking for the title for my number two, you put down the Royal Tenenbaums, and I'm like, oh snap, he got it. I'll let him have it. So I have to put down Isle of Dogs, my number two Wes Anderson movie.
Okay.
Came out not too long ago. When it came out, I went to go see it with a friend once. Loved it. A friend of mine said, "Hey, you want to go to the movies to go watch the Isle of Dogs?" I said, "Sure." Went to go watch it a second time. And then my dad says, "Hey, you want to go to the movies?" I'm like, "Sure." And I went to go watch it a third time. There's not many times that I go to see a movie three times at this. Yeah, but good company. And I'll say one thing. I have a dog in Spain, and if you have a dog, you will feel such a you'll feel warmth at, just at the end of this movie. And it's definitely my number two, maybe joint number two. Difficult with Wes Anderson because his movies are just genius.
Yeah.
Joint number two or number three in terms of my favorite Wes Anderson, but it came out not too long ago and absolutely love this movie. Such a warm, good feeling movie. One of those ones that just lifts your spirit and you walk out just with a smile on your face. You're like, oh man, that left me so good and happy. Yeah.
I haven't seen this one, and I consider myself actually everything that I was talking about before. I would kind of root all of that in Wes Anderson.
Mm.
And actually, I would probably put it here in this movie because this movie came out when I was the Royal Tenenbaums came out when I was a senior in high
Yeah.
school, and so that was
Okay.
like right at the moment where I was kind of like, ooh, I really like movies. In fact, I this this photo is the same DVD that I had, the Criterion collection. So it was two
Okay.
discs. It had
Yeah.
a whole bunch of other. It was so cool because you could. It had a whole bunch of features about the creation of like the sets
Mm.
that they use in the house because all of the colors
Good.
are so precise. I mean, Wes
Yeah.
Anderson is just a maniac. He's so amazing at creating a visual universe. Like every one of his movies, it's like it exists in its own universe, but it's a universe that's immediately familiar and you can jump into, but that doesn't exist in this universe that we live in. It's
Mm.
just off to the side, but he's so good at creating the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things, like Wes Anderson was one of the things that made me kind of interested in the idea of making movies.
I had
And
a
so I feel bad. I feel bad that I have not yet seen Isle of Dogs. I have to do that.
Dude, you'll finish the movie with a smile. It's a guarantee, honestly. Like I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I mean,
Is it
I've
all
never been.
animated?
It is animated, yes, as in like it's kind of like the Fantastic Mr. Fox, right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
another like favorite of mine, but I can't put dude. His movies are so good.
No,
I
no.
had a friend who did film school and they had to analyze Wes Anderson. And she said that like in her research process that she was doing, she discovered that Wes Anderson is someone who, when he makes a movie, nobody steps on the set until he has pictures or drawings of every snippet and every scene with every single line said. Until
Hmm.
that happens, nobody is to step on set. And
Right.
it's like, dude, that's like insane because it's like, your production time could go from this, but now you're making it like this. So he is very surgical, I think, in many ways with movies.
He's so amazing. Like
Yeah.
actually, I can't remember now who it is. Like he's always worked with the Wilson brothers,
Owen
right?
Owen Wilson?
Owen Wilson and
No,
Luke.
yeah, Luke Wilson. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I can't remember if it's maybe they have another brother, or maybe it's Wes Anderson's brother, or somebody, one of the main actors, because especially in his early movies, he worked with a lot of the same actors, and
Yeah.
one of the, or maybe it's his own brother. I can't remember
Bill
now.
Murray. There's a perfect, yeah.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
In the
yeah.
early ones, yeah.
But he does all of the art for like the conceptual art for the design of the scenes and everything, or the designs of like in the Life Aquatic,
Oh yeah.
of the schematic of the submarine and all of that stuff. no, he's just so amazing. Like,
Dude.
yeah, I couldn't more strongly recommend that everybody watch every single movie that Wes Anderson has made because they're all amazing.
I have a confession. I need to watch Rushmore. I haven't seen that one. Yeah.
The one that got me
Anyway,
started.
it's best to keep your confessions out. So there
Oh,
it is. All right. Bishop Ryan, my apologies. I have sinned.
I think I have it on DVD
Oh,
here.
you do? Oh, snap. Okay. All right.
Just dig it out and see.
No, no, very nice. Very nice. So let's take a look at our number one. Drum roll, please. Boom. Dude.
Wow. Wow. What a diverse.
Yeah, I know. Feel like you
This
went
is
one way, I went another. Yeah. But I think these are movies that define a decade, in my opinion. I don't know.
for sure. I'm just wondering, were you alive in that decade or?
Nope, I was not. Not one bit. No, well, okay, you caught me, Ryan. You caught me. I was not alive. We should have maybe switched our number ones. Then that would have made more sense. Uh,
Well, Fight Club was. I'm gonna tell you a true story. I remember when Fight Club came out. I think I was about 15 years old, and I remember in all of my 15-year-oldness thinking that I knew a lot about the world. And I said, "What a stupid movie! It's about a club. What is it about? A club of people who fight? Wow, that's dumb." And I was like, "I'm never gonna watch that." And so I fast forwarded about a year, and I remember the first time I saw this movie. I was working at the pizza place. I came home late at night. We had HBO for a preview. I don't know if this is part of your generation, but back in the day, sometimes HBO would give you free HBO for like a week, right? And so you could watch HBO, and it was like, oh, cool, I'm gonna watch a movie tonight.
they're listening
And
to this. I hope that they get on board with that program again. Yeah.
go back to those days. And so I got off of work. I went home, and you know, by the time I got home, everybody was asleep. So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna watch a movie. And I sat down and I turned on HBO and I started watching like the first, 5 or 10 minutes of a movie. But I missed like the first 5 minutes, so I wasn't sure what the movie was. But I was like getting really intrigued, and I was like, what is and then eventually, it got to like scenes that I could recognize, and I was like, "Oh, this is Fight Club? What?" And boom, I can't deny that my life changed after
Yeah.
watching that movie. Like I can't, like, there's no way that I am the same person before and after watching Fight Club. So it's such a unique for me at the time, being 16 years old. It's like essential, like
Yeah.
adolescent kind of. Especially being a male, I will say that it's definitely a very much a man movie.
Yeah. Man movie.
A
Yeah.
movie about what it is to be a man, which is I think very important.
Meatloaf is in the movie as well. Yeah. Ah.
Yes, he is.
Oh, is it Tinkerbell? Tinkerbell's in the movie. Yeah, the Tink.
I was thinking about that
Yeah.
on that day when we did the music podcast. When
Oh
I
man.
was also wearing a purple shirt.
Oh, huh? What? Oh no. Don't worry. Different day, boys and girls. Different day. Different day. Different David. Different Ryan. But dude, you know the thing about Fight Club, I can watch it tonight and I'm not going to be bored because I just find it so wildly entertaining. Honestly, yeah, no,
It's really
100%. I just love that. The bottom, mischief, mayhem, soap. It's like, dude, a guy's movie. Honestly, like I love it. I love it.
and I never really, I think before that I never really knew that like films could be, I don't know, that deep and that kind of philosophical. And so this again is a very big changing point in my life for me anyway. I definitely opened up and said, wow, this is
Yeah.
there's a lot of potential. Besides that, I also started reading Chuck Palahniuk because Chuck Palahniuk is the one who wrote the book Fight Club.
Yeah.
And then in my high school years, I read a lot of Chuck Palahniuk. I read, I don't know, probably his first 5 novels, or the ones that came immediately after Fight. I read quite a few Chuck Palahniuk books. So
Now, Ryan,
it's at
I'm
the
not
end
a
of the
big
day.
fan of like, books into movies. I'm not a big fan of that. But in your experience, would this be one of the few times where the movie is better than the book? And one of the few times.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just a story well, or just the execution of it was just amazing, right? I believe the David Fincher is
Yep, that's it. Mm-hmm.
the director. Um, I watched the commentary on this movie many times, I think. um, and yeah, I mean, wow, like it's so well done, and the visual storytelling is such a part of it. So yeah, I would say you could actually, totally skip the book. The book in itself is not bad from what I remember, but the movie is just so much more powerful. Now, like if you because Palahniuk, I like him a lot. I haven't read him in many years, but for instance, Choke was a great book, and you know, it was an okay movie. It wasn't anything to write home about, but yeah, this one I would agree with you. Yeah, I would go probably movie over book.
All right. Very nice, very nice. Now I think Fight Club may define the '90s, but for me, E.T. defines the '80s. Honestly, like, all right, I'm going to tell you in many ways, like, it's a bit of a nostalgic experience for me to put this number one because I'd spend most of my Christmases I spent with my grandparents in Spain, and on the 25th of December every single year without fail on Antena 3 in España, they would put ET from siesta hour, from the commencement of siesta hour, all the way through until like people were waking up from their siesta. So Christmas Day was always all right. We're gonna have a nice big family dinner, and now everyone takes a siesta because they were up late, and kids watch ET. Dude, I think I watched this like 7 Christmases in a row at least, honestly. And yet I'm still going to put it as my number one because why? Yeah, sure. Some nostalgic connection that I have of my childhood with it. But dude, it is a beautiful story. And like, this is one of Spielberg's earlier movies, I believe. And dude, I just love this there's a couple interesting things about E.T. For one, Steven Spielberg, he shot the entire movie at like from a child's perspective. Never was the camera like at an adult's height. It was always at like a child's height, as in like because it would make you feel like you were a child experiencing everything in many ways. So that's one thing, and the second thing, which is very true, is that this movie, and I'm sure you remember the bicycle scene,
Mhm.
it gave a huge rise to BMXing. BMXing in 82 wasn't as big as it became. And ET, in many ways, is the reason why BMXing took off, actually.
Wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
So
That's it.
Dave Mira took his inspiration from ET. Huh.
In many ways, yeah, yeah. It sounds strange, but I have a friend who has done like film research and stuff, and that's what she remembers telling me. And I'm like, huh,
Crazy.
that actually makes a lot of sense. 1982, the film comes out, but BMXing is taking off in the mid 80s and late 80s in many ways. And I can see the relevance of that nonetheless, definitely.
That's
But
brilliant.
not to mention, dude, I don't mean to freak people out, but I do believe that there is something else out there. And I don't think it comes in the form of ET, but I think that there's something else, and I appreciate the film ET because it does deliver that something else is out there kind of, effect. And I don't know. I just ET, no matter what, I can watch it tonight and I know it's going to leave a smile on my face, honestly,
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
just has that warm feeling to it. Yeah.
Right. So since we're making confessions, I have a small confession, which is that E.T. was one of my mom's favorite movies. Like It came out a couple of years before I was born. Um, but I was deathly afraid to watch ET until I was at least, I don't know, man. I'm gonna put like 10 years old. I
Mm.
think I just the image of him and that wrinkly brown skin. I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't do it.
You want to hear, and I had to look this fact up, but you're going to maybe get a chuckle. That face, you don't like ET's face, right?
It's tough
Yeah,
to look.
I hear you there. But here's the random fact when I was looking up ET. ET's face was modeled, and this is funny, after the poet Carl Sandburg, Albert Einstein, and a dog. Somebody said, like, all right, let's get this face and that face and this animal right here, and let's make an alien out of it.
You know, not bad choices.
Not
I
bad,
think it
not
worked.
bad, yeah. I mean, I guess you've got the facial expression of Carl Sandburg, then you've got the brain of Albert Einstein, and then you've got the body of a dog.
I can go with it.
You go with it. Oh.
I don't know, man. I was so afraid of ET for so long, and I remember like my grandma in her house had like a ET night light, and so it was like, and of course it was with his heart. So
Yeah.
the light was in his heart, but it was like, I don't want to look at that.
Oh, that's sweet, honestly. Having like an ET lamp, dude. I wouldn't have that lamp as a bedside lamp. No, I would actually probably just hug it like a teddy bear, honestly, and let it burn me in the night. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Now that we're talking about it too, going back and being a little bit nostalgic, one of the kind of the most important songs, I guess, that I kind of shared with my mom was "Turn On Your Heart Light" by Neil Diamond. That's sort of like the song from the movie, right?
That is true. That is very true.
And I had that on an EP that I used to play on my little Play School record player.
Dude, I have another confession to make, dude. I mean, we're just letting the confessions fly after 4 o'clock, but
This is the
it's after
confession.
school hours, so why not? I have a playlist, and in that playlist, I have the theme song of E.T. And I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely love it, honestly. The E.T. theme song of like, I think Hans Zimmer is behind it, who's like one of the masterminds behind music and movies. But yeah, no, I love the theme song to E.T. as well. Yeah, no, fantastic. So you've chosen a movie that's my decade, and I've chosen a movie that's your decade as the number one. Yeah.
We're a weird couple here, but it works.
It worked.
Well, rad people, that's our rad movie list. How about you guys?
How about you guys? Hey, you know what? Like, if you don't like one of them, tell us your top 5. I'd love to hear about it, honestly. I'm sure, you guys had you were brought up differently than us. I'm sure some of you probably want to put an Avengers movie on there. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I won't make any confessions about Avengers movies. Zero right now.
Actually, Ryan, the last point that I want to mention in this video is, all my movies except for one is pre-2000. And I think in many ways you have a similar experience because, dude, today's movies, man, they're just throwing VFX in there. And they're like, yo, dude, this car is going to jump over a building. And it's like, dude, no. What I care more about is how the start and how it finished. I don't care about the visual effects because it ain't real. Show me something that's real on the screen, and then we'll start talking.
How many Fast and Furious movies are there today? Like 35?
8,
36?
9, 10. Dude, like, that's exactly my point. Like, I don't want to watch movies with all this special effects. Like, dude, just give me a good script. Give me a good storyline that I will, I'll rewatch something if the storyline is good. I'm not gonna rewatch it for some visual like, no way, dude, explosions! Why he's flying through the air? What? Iron Man? No, dude, come on, give me a break here.
Well, let's give the last word to the students then. Throw out your opinions. Maybe we're just old men. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we don't have the sensibility that young people have today. But tell us, what are some good movies, some beautiful movies that are important to you? Write them down in the comments.
Write down in the comments. I'm going to be commenting, and if there's one that I like, you get like triple thumbs up from me. I guarantee you that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go into every Google account that I have, and I'll give you a thumbs up.
On that note, boys and girls, we hope you have a lovely morning, day, or evening, depending on when you're watching this. Yeah. So
wherever you are,
wherever you are, take care, boys and girls. See you later.
Bye.